Hello, this is Eric. Today is June the 1st, 2023. And in this video, we will talk about the Sarney Government. Yes, the new republic. This is the current political phase of Brazil. And it is kind of nostalgic for me. Because it resembles, my childhood. I remember those days, the Sarney days very clearly. And, well, the dictatorship, the military dictatorship days are gone. So now, again, we are going to have a civilian in the executive power. And Sarney, well, this is his picture here. The Sarney's government is marked by the direct return to democracy, right? As I said, he is the first civilian president after the military dictatorship period. Actually, as we saw in our first video, he was the vice president for Tancredo Neves, but Tancredo Neves died a little before assuming the power. So Sarney assumed the power, and he started his government with challenges and with a clear orientation, return to democracy, right? Right in the beginning of his term as president, we are going to have this direct and no longer gradual, but really constant and quick return to democracy, right? So direct elections at all levels are going to be established. The presidential term is established in 5 years. The political parties will be legalized. No more censorship. And this is actually the return, to a really free, free country again. And people are going to really, see that not only in politics, but in the cinema, in music, you're going to see that really clearly. No more racism, right? Racism is going to be a non-bailable crime. Unfortunately, though, this law is not always respected. And voting is going to be legalized for the illiterate and for people over 16 years of age. Right? And this is going to be also the period in which the current constitution will be established, right? This constitution is nicknamed the Citizen Constitution. And really, it is a breakthrough. Nobody can deny that, right? So I am going to show you a video that will show, that will display, that will evidence all this euphoric moments that a country is going through, specifically concerning the new constitution that aimed to encompass, to contemplate all these new desires that the people had in mind, okay? So let's go to this video, right?
A década de 1980 viu o fim da ditadura militar no Brasil. Vivia-se o processo de redemocratização. A Assembleia Nacional Constituinte, instalada em 1987, trabalhou por 20 meses para elaborar uma nova Constituição. A sociedade civil participou ativamente. Era um documento a Constituição, Mas naquele momento, 1988, era também muito mais do que isso.
O documento da liberdade, da dignidade, da democracia.
Um pequeno noticiário veiculado em rede nacional de televisão acompanhou diariamente as atividades da Assembleia Nacional Constituinte. Em 5 de outubro de 1988, o Diário da Constituinte encerrou suas atividades. Foram 763 edições, 2 vezes por dia no ar.
O Brasil tem nova Constituição. 3h20 da tarde. O presidente Sarney chega ao Congresso e com a execução do hino nacional começa a festa da promulgação. No plenário da Câmara dos Deputados, palco das votações e dos grandes debates da Constituinte, o primeiro ato da promulgação, a assinatura da carta pelo presidente Ulisses Guimarães. Depois, o juramento solene.
E falando ao Brasil, declaro promulgada o documento da liberdade, da dignidade, da democracia, da justiça social do Brasil. Que Deus nos ajude que isto se cumpra. Declaro manter, defender, cumprir a Constituição, observar as leis, promover o bem geral do povo brasileiro, sustentar a união, a integridade e a independência do Brasil.
A seguir é a vez do presidente Sarney.
Prometo manter, defender, cumprir a Constituição, observar as leis, promover o bem geral do povo brasileiro, sustentar a união, a integridade e a independência do Brasil.
Well, as you could see, this is a really unique time in the history of Brazil. No more censorship. No more dictatorship. Now people will be free. That doesn't mean that this is going to be a perfect country. But as a philosopher once said, I may not agree with you, but I will defend your right to express your thoughts until the last minute. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing here the sentence. This is a quote by Voltaire, right? The French philosopher. So, once again, freedom, democracy was back in Brazil. And this constitution represented all of that. But although, this is the beginning of a new era, of a new democratic era in Brazil, things were not good in economic terms. The military regime provided a legacy of inflation, and now no longer inflation only, but hyperinflation, right? And really the country was suffering with that. I remember that period very clearly. I remember the currency changes. I remember we would go to the supermarket and the products were often during the days tagged, with the new prices. Inflation reached 84% in a month. That was really out of this world. And because of that, the decade of 1980, the 1980s were considered the lost decade. Because really, in economic terms, Brazil was really in hardship, I could say. That is the best word I could find here. The Brazilian people was suffering, and the government was doing its best to not only contain inflation but to sort it out. And in order to do that, they would make use of really weird plans, So here I'm gonna show you. You can see here in this magazine cover. This is the Veja magazine, a really famous magazine here in Brazil, and the cover says "Revolution in Economy." The hope in cruzado. Cruzado was the new currency. Until then, the currency was cruzeiro. How to calculate wages, rents, and finance installments. The bet in inflation, in zero inflation, prices, a fight for life or death. Life without monetary correction. The political risks in the reform. So here you're going to see a brief video that is President Sarney announcing the new currency and the new political decisions. Okay? Let's watch it.
Brasileiros e brasileiras, as principais decisões são as seguintes: criação de uma nova moeda, o cruzado; extinção do cruzeiro, com paridade inicial de um cruzado por 1.000 cruzeiros; conversão automática em cruzados de notas, moedas e depósitos à vista no sistema bancário; extinção da correção monetária generalizada; escala móvel de salários; congelamento total de preços, tarifas e serviços.
So as you could see, basically, the Cruzado plan that was deployed by Dilson Funaro, the Minister of Finance at the Sarney's government. This Cruzado plan, this Cruzado plan, this Cruzado plan aimed at basically extinguishing the Cruzeiro currency, right? So now, as you could see in his speech, basically they established that 1,000 cruzeiros would be equivalent to one cruzado, right? And supporting that measure, they basically established price freezing, right? So prices, rents, wages, and exchange rate would freeze for 1 year. And also they established the wage trigger. So what are the results? More demand, but also more shortage. Yes, people would go to the supermarkets and they would clearly notice the shortage of products. The companies, the big entrepreneurs, they didn't accept paying for the Cruzado plan. So they would delay, the supply of products, and they would also spoil, the supply of products. And as soon as the freeze would end, then inflation would go up again. So in order to try to solve this problem, we had the second Cruzado plan, release of products and service prices, but it didn't work again. We had the Brasser plan, freezing of prices, rents, wages for 60 days. It didn't work again. And as a result, they increased taxes, in order to reduce the public deficit. But again, it didn't work. So at the end of the Sarney government, really, the economy was chaotic. Inflation was up in the skies. I remember that. You had to rush. As soon as you received your wage, you had to rush to the supermarkets. Companies were going crazy. They had to keep updating the wages. That was really the lost decade. And in the political sphere, now for the first time, Brazilians would be electing. For the first time after many years, they would be, after the military dictatorship, they would be electing their first civilian president. He was athletic. He was, the girls would say he was handsome. And this is Fernando Collor. But would Fernando Collor meet the people's expectation? That's what we are going to see in our next video, okay? Well, the plans had failed, inflation was high, Sarney was no longer popular after a while. We even had one more plan, summer plan, that failed again with the price freezing, with, all these currencies, changing all the time. We had a change of, Minister of Finance, now Maílson da Nóbrega. Nothing of that worked out. So the people was, the people was looking forward to the next president. Will he be able to set us free from inflation? That's what we're going to see in our next video, okay? Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in our next video.